It's October 10th, 2023, 3:26 Eastern Standard Time. It's a sad affair. Just life in general, sometimes. So, the weirdest thing to me, and maybe it's the bots and the AI, but I think it's just the NPCs, is that people really don't learn a lesson. They still follow. I think it's hard for libertarians to see and understand that not everybody can be a visionary. Not everybody can be their own leader. Not everybody can be independent. In fact, most people have been genetically designed to follow. It's actually scarier when you trick somebody into believing that they should be their own person, an individual, when they have a genetic coding to follow. The reason the left does so well is they understand that there's a bunch of imbeciles out there that want an easy solution. Instead of trying to convince everybody that if you want to be a libertarian, that you have to be a homesteader living alone in the woods, or a 100% independent thinker coming up with your own thoughts that certain people are not capable of. What's easier is to convince somebody to find a libertarian leader and have an organic, spontaneous, voluntary relationship with that individual and start listening to their words, living their life following the words of that leader, and going back and checking what that leader said and then what happened in the world so they get credibility. And if you keep following the same people and you get good results, then you found a good leader. I can't even go on Twitter. It's so frustrating to watch libertarians, conservatives, liberals, many of them, not all, but many of them, when a huge issue like the current war comes up, they default to a side. We have a tendency to compartmentalize and collectivize things because it does make it easier. But there's no such thing as the U.S. government There's no such thing as the Israeli government. There's no such thing as the Palestinian government. These are all collectors of people making individual choices, not all of which are 100% voluntary, many of which are coerced, some financially, some physically. Some picking a side to survive, which is the most important evolutionary trait. Is to survive. If you can't get your genetic lineage, whether it be your family, yourself, your friends, what you call community, what you call religion, or a country, or whatever it is, to a point where they can relax enough that they got survival down pat. They're still working on trying to just survive. That fear kicks in and makes people do crazy ass shit. Speaking philosophy, such as the Greeks, is a luxury that you earn once you get your civilization to a point where they're not living in survival mode. They're not running from tigers, cats, giant monkeys with guns. But if you evolve in a situation where survival is selected for, the women breed with people that survive. I get it. All women breed all the time when people survive. But I mean, if you're in an area where there's a philosopher and somebody who simply survives, if the country is calm and relaxed, survival is taken care of and figured out by even the least common denominator, then you don't have to breed with the warrior, the soldier, the general. You can breed with the wise, the knowledgeable, the peaceful. I know you're all going crazy now because I'm eating on camera. But I'm sitting in my neutral mind right now. Very relaxed, very calm. It should not be a controversial opinion to say that we'd rather have peace over war. It's really easy for me to say those words. But I have no influence over war. I don't live in a war zone. I'm not a soldier. I believe that all force, initiated force, is immoral. The only true moral use of force is in defense. Well, let's take a little journey into this current situation here. Both sides have kind of convinced themselves that they're in defense mode, that they're being attacked by the other side. And when violence goes on for so long, both sides are attacking and both sides are defending. They're living in a world of might makes right, of survival. It's an immoral world. It could even be considered an amoral world. The reason I don't think that this is an amoral situation that these individuals are in is I believe that the leaders that are funding this have had the time, the privilege, the availability to recognize that it's an evil situation. And once you have a chance to determine whether or not something is good or is evil, where you're not acting out of instincts or 100% survival, where there was other options, then the choice that you make, when it's a choice, not a reaction, is evil. So I do believe from the top-down situation that this war is immoral, not amoral. One thing I know, it is not moral. What I can't, or what I would suggest that I help you understand is that there will be evil people. There will be dolts and slowies that need to be and follow a direction to survive. There's going to be monkeys that need to see what to do. The Bible addressed this in a couple of ways. I believe the Quran as well. And so does Judaism. Judaism takes and puts a hierarchy onto people, whereas there's the chosen ones, the Jews, and the Goyim, and the animals that are so dumb that they need to be stewards. They have to be the stewards of and control of and move them around for their own good. And you know, we know you don't ask a chicken its permission, you just push it into the cage. It's not a symbiotic relationship, it's a master-servant relationship. The Muslims have Muslims versus the infidel, and this is more of a us versus them. We're the good and they're the evil, and there's one true God. And the infidel can learn and convert, but if it doesn't, it's evil and must be wiped out. The Christians seem to have a shepherd and a flock type scenario, whereas the shepherd herds their sheep but lets it wander the fields, understanding that its safety is under the guard of the shepherd and the sheepdog. And it doesn't really matter to me the religious elements of these things, and maybe I got them wrong, I don't know. If you're a good person that's knowledgeable, knows philosophy, and is wise. I think it's our duty through natural order to reach out and mentor those who need mentoring and give them a strong, organic, spontaneous, voluntary leader to listen to, set some goals from, and improve their life about. I don't know if I'm that type of person for you. I hope that I am. I'm making these videos for that. But the point that I'm trying to get to is there is a certain group of individuals in society with certain skill sets and certain IQ levels that need stewardship. They need help. And if there's not enough of us stepping up to do it, they'll end up getting it elsewhere. They'll end up going to get it from a slogan or a corporation or a government. And they're going to see that, well, if I don't choose Israel, I die. Or if I don't choose Palestine, I die. Or if I don't choose Russia, I die. If I don't choose the Ukraine, I die. Their option is death or choose a side. And they're not really seeing any other leaders that are standing up that they can follow. So they don't really have many other options. So, as libertarians, if you're knowledgeable, you're a strong leader, you're kind, you're wise, you have an ability to free think, you've worked on that skill set, I think it's time that we need to step up and give some people some other options in their lives of which way to go. So, I wouldn't be too hard on people that are trapped in a violent territory, that are trying to figure things out when they're just surrounded. When you're in a war zone and you can talk to people who've been to war, guys that signed up to go to Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran from the United States, they start here believing that they're going to start fighting for freedom. And when they get there, they realize really quickly that they're not fighting for freedom, and that the system is set up that they're fighting to survive. And they're next to their brothers in arms, and they're fighting with their brothers in arms to keep their brothers in arms alive. So their whole idea is just to get them and the people they love, that they're connected with, their home. And then as they get moved around into situations, they said, okay, you're here, we've stuck you in this area, here's this thing. If you do this thing, we'll let you come home. So now they go from being able to be in a safe, secure place where they make good decisions into a combat zone where they're going to die, and their options are survive or die. And they're given a top-down rule from somebody, and the rules are, here's a quest, here's a goal, here's a set of standards. If you do A, B, and C, and then get to this point here, we'll take you out of there. And then they go in, and them and the people they're connected to form an instinctual bond of survival. And they do things that they wouldn't typically do in order to survive and get out of there. And then they can rationalize it later because they were in a survival mode. Now picture that you're in a country and you're in a similar situation where you're stuck. And you're just trying to get stuff for your family, but a group of leaders comes in and they say, hey, we're going to go do X, Y, and Z, and if you don't do X, Y, and Z, then you're not going to survive because we're going to wipe you out. So there's a whole group of people living in that way. And then when you step into the United States, there's people that depend on the government for welfare, schooling, understanding, friendships, connections, their business, the people that they do business with, and the people that they do business with and they do business with that shop from them, only shop with them because they're on a particular team. And whether or not they believe in that team anymore, their survival depends on believing in that team. So that they kind of play ball. It's a survival mechanism. So if you own a storefront and you collect for money for the war in Israel, you're on one team and you survive one way. But if you collect money for Palestine, it's something else. But really, in the end, all it is coercion and force from the top down from these forces. And the people at the bottom are just trying to survive. They're trying to just get money to feed their children and their family. I'm not saying everybody. But once you recognize that, I think there's some things we can do. Besides working together and independently with one another, I think we got to start using decentralized currency and learning it. It's pretty easy to learn. If 36 million people in the United States, you wouldn't even need that many. You just need a good percentage. So let's say 3% of the entire United States even started using decentralized currency in your stores, your business, and trading or whatever. That's all it really takes to wake everybody else up. If you can start getting the role of it there and making it easy and acceptable and people start learning, you take away the power to print money out of thin air. You take away the power to fight these wars. It can be a very peaceful way to transfer power. Now, of course, the people in charge of the printing presses aren't going to see it that way, and they're going to start throwing people in jail because they're going to do whatever they can to keep power. It's an amazing drug. But the two things I want to just leave this video with is, if you have the ability to speak and put together a small group of individuals that can follow things that you're finding out and figuring out and you have time, please do that and see how big you can make your community. And two, if you've been too lazy to figure out cryptocurrency and you don't get it and you don't know why and you think it's a scam or whatever, look into blockchain technology, please. Look into how these wars are funded and realize that there's some simple ways, if you weren't so lazy and you figured out cryptocurrency and we worked together, that we can end the funding of a lot of this despicable stuff that's going on. So, okay, take care.